So later on today, 9:30 PM GMT, 9 PM if I finish work early enough, I will be streaming some Euro Truck Simulator over on the Omegon Plays channel and over on Twitch. Link to both of those down below. Also, I want to shout out Cognitive Thought now, because he linked me something on Twitter I'm going to cover tomorrow. Something which, upon reading, is worse than what I'm going to cover today. Not that in reality you can quantify either subject. Needless to say, both this video and tomorrow's will undoubtedly be demonetized, which is fine. Principles must stand, and things like what we are going to discuss today must be called out for what they are. There is a reason I'm wearing the Judge Moist outfit. Injustice is something I'm quite passionate about. Before we get into that, I should also mention I'm going to be rejigging upload times. Videos on this channel will be uploaded 6 PM GMT. The reason for that is so that I can then make it available for patrons an hour before I start, an hour before I make it public, but also because then I'm at work and have finished, I'm able to reply to comments as well. This works for me. Also means I have more time during the day now that I've acquired a house to make better quality videos, as opposed to waking up early in the morning and being very tired. Preparation is after all key. So there was this baby, he was 4 weeks old, called Darian, who was unfortunate enough to have passed away recently. Rest in peace, little man. Problem with his passing is, it is entirely his mother's fault. You see, his mother decided to take him out when she went drinking with her sister. Her name, by the way, is Marina Tilby. Public knowledge now linked in the article down below. Who at 26 decided, I'm going to celebrate having a kid, blow off some steam, go to a pub, get utterly shreked. To the point where I fall asleep on top of my son in a stranger's caravan. How very modern of you, to go to a Jippo site. To put into perspective just how drunk Marina was, her sister spent an hour and a half attempting to wake her up. And during that time, paramedics had in fact arrived at the caravan, taken baby Darian to hospital, proceeded to attempt to revive him, which they found increasingly difficult since he was a little bit on the severely wounded side. And by the time she had been woken up, he had passed away. During the inevitable trial of willful neglect and infanticide, the prosecution did try to make the argument that the kid had died of a heart attack induced from the suffocation brought on by his mother being on top of him. Unfortunately, a post-mortem could not determine that. They were unable to ascertain the actual cause of death, which is where the willful neglect charge stood. In an attempt to try and reduce the sentence, the defendant's solicitor did try and say that Marina had been diagnosed with depression because of this, as a means to try and reduce the damage done to her life by indicating that she will forever feel guilt and suffer because of it. I don't like depression being used as a defence, and let's not forget it was brought on afterwards. The judge, I'm going to read his statement in a moment, did declare her to be selfish and ignored her duty to her son, which we will also discuss in a moment. Marina was sentenced after being found guilty of willful neglect for 2 years and 4 months. I am almost certain the majority of you in the comments below, and those of you watching this, have a very strong opinion on those who harm children, whether intentional or not. Of course, we do not know the circumstances that led to Marina going out drinking with her sister, why there is a complete lack of mention of the father in all of this. But that does not excuse what happened. Guilt is not a punishment on its own. The judge is quite right when they said that she had ignored her duty to her son. She had. And I think this is one of those rather damning statements that has to be made now. Once you have had a child, hell, once the child is conceived, whether intentional or not, if you intend to keep that child, your life is over. It's a quite blunt statement, but it is one that needs to be made. The duty you have in life, your purpose in life, the meaning of your life, is to your child, no one else. So to those who think that they need to blow off steam because they're stressed, because they needed a chance to unwind, no, you don't get that luxury, unless your child is left with someone you can trust, of course. But even then, you don't really get that chance. You made the choice to forfeit your freedom for someone else. In this case, you decided your child was secondary to your own selfish needs, which is utterly unacceptable. Until your child is able to look after themselves, that child relies on you. That includes education, that includes clothing, understanding of the world, which also should fall into education but apparently is not part of the curriculum yet. Teaching your child tolerance, and giving your child the one thing that you denied your child when you selfishly chose to put your needs above their own, a chance. This is not rocket science here. This is very simple. Your life ends. You don't get to go and do any of this, because the need of that child trumps anything about you, which means you then have to adapt. You then have to find a way to make a better life yourself based on the new parameters that you have to operate under. Those new ones include feeding, cleaning, caring for a child. 2 years and 4 months does not seem adequate. Based on the rules of this country, it is an accurate sentence. I do not personally agree with it, but I am quite happy to let the guilt you experience riddle you for the rest of your life, because that is nothing more than you deserve, and pity is certainly not something I'm going to give you. So now I'm going to finish this by addressing what the judge said. Judge Thomas had said he was uneasy at the charge of neglect being brought in the absence of a definitive cause of death. He labelled the incident a dreadful case of maternal selfishness, adding that it is a mother's responsibility, a mother's duty, and her natural instinct to put the care and safety of her 4-week-old child above all else. You completely ignored that duty, so you could get extremely drunk on a night out. So drunk were you that you fell into a deep sleep and slept on top of your baby. There came a time when he was not moving. He had blood in his mouth, but you didn't realize because you were so drunk. The priorities of a parent. This one failed. Anyway, if I don't see you tonight over on the Omegon Plays channel, I do hope you all have a lovely Tuesday. Oh, and I have actually, and will be uploading, a politics video on the Moisky live channel. Link to that below. It might be up just before this. Please consider watching. I am uploading regular videos over there now as well, where all the politics stuff will go, because I like growing this channel and apparently politics here is not a good idea. Anyway, have a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all very much for listening. When age fell upon the world, and wonder went out of the minds of men, when grey cities reared to smoky skies tall towers grim and ugly, in whose shadow none might dream of the sun or of spring's flowering meads, when learning stripped earth of her mantle of beauty, and poets sang no more save of twisted phantoms seen with bleared and inward-looking eyes, when these things had come to pass, and childish hopes had gone away forever, there was a man who travelled out of life on a quest into the spaces whither the world's dreams had fled. Of the name and abode of this man but little is written, for they were of the waking world only, yet it is said that both were obscure. It is enough to know that he dwelt in a city of high walls where sterile twilight reigned, and that he toiled all day long among shadow and turmoil, coming home at evening to a room whose one window opened, but not on the fields and groves, but on a dim court where other windows stared in dull despair. From that casement one might see only walls and windows, except sometimes when one leaned far out and peered aloft at the small stars that passed. And because mere walls and windows must soon drive to madness a man who dreams and reads much, the dweller in that room used night after night to lean out and peer aloft to glimpse some fragment of things beyond the waking world and the greyness of tall cities. After years, he began to call the slow-sailing stars by their name, and to follow them in fancy when they glided regretfully out of sight, till at length his vision opened to many secret vistas, whose existence no common eye suspects. And one night a mighty gulf was bridged, and the dream-haunted sky swelled down to the lonely watcher's window, to merge with the close air of his room and make him a part of their fabulous wonder. There came to that room wild streams of violet, midnight glittering with dust of gold, vortices of dust and fire, swelling out of the ultimate spaces and heavy with perfumes from beyond the worlds. Opiate oceans poured there, litten by suns that the eye may never behold, and having in their whirlpools strange dolphins and sea nymphs of unrememberable deeps. Noiseless infinity eddied around the dreamer and wafted him away, without even touching the body that leaned stiffly from the lonely window. And for days not counted in men's calendars, the tides of far spheres bear him gently to join the dreams for which he longed, the dreams that men have lost. And in the course of many cycles, they tenderly left him sleeping on a green sunrise shore, a green shore fragrant with lotus blossoms and starred by red camelots.